Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So this is going to be part 2 of my starting from scratch and bringing a painting to completion series, and I know that's really awkward, so I'm gonna change the title, but that's basically what I'm doing. So I have allowed this to completely dry overnight, and I did not use a heating tool, and I really love some of the organic way that these inks and paints have dried. But the first thing I'm going to do is just look at things through my viewfinder and see what I want to keep and what I'm going to get rid of. So I'm really loving this piece here. It's the stencil with the yellow overlaid, and I'm really thinking that's very interesting. Now I'm not liking that at all. I'm really loving that pop of pink. That's really blah. I'm really loving all of this here. So when I look at this, there's a fair amount of this page that I'm really not liking. And actually, this is a good example of what to do when, like, say, you do your first layer, and obviously when I did the first layer, I thought I thought it was a good idea to add, say, my turquoise for my cool color, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm really not feeling it. I'm actually liking the green because I put turquoise and then I overlaid it with yellow. So I'm getting like a beautiful green. So something good did come out of it because I'm really loving that green. But for the turquoise over here and here and here, I'm really not feeling it at all. But again, this is a good illustration of that was kind of not an accident, but I was just playing, experimenting, etc., etc. So I laid my turquoise down, and then I overlaid it with yellow, and so then this beautiful green happened. So when I talk about my first layers and I say just play and have fun and experiment, and sure, I don't like a lot of this stuff, but I also do like a lot of this stuff. So it's just a good example of the first layers are all for playing and experimenting and not even thinking about the end result or even your middle layers. So with that being said, I'm going to jump right in. And so I've turned my page around because I just think this is going to be a better configuration. And now I'm going to see where I can place my figures. And because there's already an oval here and I want to retain this stencil, I think this would be a good place to, say, add my first figure. So I'm just gonna kind of go with that oval shape. And I'm trying to follow some of the lines as best I can. And I think my second figure is going to be here, and then I'm gonna put a sun over here. So I think I'm gonna kind of go like so. And I want to retain the stencil for, say, the neck or the figure. Okay. And I think over here I'm going to make a sun. So, am I happy with my placement? I think so. yes, I think I'm happy with that placement. Gonna give her some hair. And so now what I'm gonna do is bring in a neutral, and because I didn't put any neutrals at all in my first layer, I'm just going to bring in a background neutral, and that is going to separate, you know, the figures from the background, because right now everything is like super like messy in that you can't really differentiate the figures from the background. So I'm going to get out my cashew and my ink, and I'm not sure if I want to mix it to get like a gray, or if I want to just go with a cashew. And I think I'm just going to go with a cashew. So all I'm going to do is simply follow the outline, and I'm not going to cover everything completely, at least not right now. So I'm going to allow some stuff to show through just for interest. So I really love that pink, so I'm gonna leave that alone for now, and I may be able to retain that through to the end, I'm not sure. The great thing about this chalk paint is it really dries pretty fast, and it just covers really well. You know, even one coat does a great job of covering up the background and well, with this color, it really neutralizes whatever is underneath, like, because it covers so completely that the previous layer does not show through. So that's one of the reasons I really love this. So I'm just keeping a little bit of that pink over there. And if a little bit of the blue Stabilo drags into the chalk paint, especially with this color, it doesn't matter. It's just going to cool it down. So it's still going to retain its neutral color. It's just going to really, like, you know, cool it down a little bit. And that's totally fine. So unfortunately, this part of the stencil has to get covered up here, but in order for this shape of the sun to show up, I've got to cover up the other parts of the stencil. So as you can see, this very simple act of simply laying down a background, it unifies the painting, because now I have made a background and a foreground. So the figures are really more prominent now, whereas before I did that, it was just like really messy. Okay, so now I'm going to have to decide what part of the stencil do I want to keep? Like, do I want to keep the stencil for the figure or for the neck? Because I can't do both. It's just going to be too busy And so I think in this case, I want to keep the stencil for the figure part. Or maybe I'm going to keep, I think, actually, no, I think what I'm going to do is keep it for the figure. I'm going to keep this part here for the body, for this first figure, and then for the neck for here, and then for a little bit in the hair and the sun. So that way it's going to move my eye like this. Now I'm going to have to kind of bring something, like put something here so that my eye then can move back here. So then that way, like I can look at this, I can move up here and then come back here. So I've got to put something over here that's going to draw my eye back, probably in red. So I'm just kind of making a note, a mental note of that. So let me see what I can do here. So I'm keeping the neck and I'm getting rid of the figure. So I think I want to go with a red over here. Now I've laid out some colors on my color palette. I've laid out an ultramarine blue, a yellow, and a gorgeous pink. It's by Holbein. It's called Luminous Opera. And so I've laid that out. But for right now, I need a red. So sometimes that happens. I lay out colors on my palette and then, you know, I don't always use them. Or maybe I don't always use them right away. And that's totally fine. I thought, like, when I was gonna start off doing this painting, I thought those were the colors I was going to use, but now I realize that I need a red. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cover everything up like so. And I'm gonna see if I can still allow some of that stencil to show through. I don't know if it's gonna be too distracting, but we'll see. No, I think I'm gonna have to cover it up. But as you can see, it's not a flat red. You can still see through the red to like patterns, and you might not be able to decipher it exactly, but there is some interest there. So it's not a flat red color field. Now I'm also going to have to figure out what to do here to incorporate this stencil into the figure without leaving it like this, because that looks really kind of just disjointed, I guess. It just doesn't look right to me. So I don't know what I'm going to do here. So I'm asking myself these questions and I am thinking about it while I paint. So normally, obviously, I wouldn't be speaking out loud because I'm filming a video. I'm kind of like speaking out loud so you could kind of see my thought process. But like normally when I'm painting and I'm, you know, listening to a YouTube video or a podcast or whatever, I ask myself these questions in my head. And then as I'm painting, I try to resolve them. I hope I'm making sense and I'm not like totally speaking like, you know, nonsense. I hope what I'm saying is making sense. So you can do the same thing, which is, you know, when you're painting and you come to, say, a problem, like earlier on, I decided I was going to keep the stencil over here, and over here, and it was going to move my eye from here to that little bit in the hair and then to the sun. And I said, well, I have to have something over here to bring my eye back here, preferably in red. So, you know, I had some red on my paintbrush, so I just said, okay, I'm just gonna put that red over there for now. It's just a reminder that I need to, you know, put something of interest over here in red to bring my eye back here. So it's the same thing with this. I'm asking myself a question, and you know, I'm going on to work on another piece of the painting, but I'm trying to maybe, you know, resolve that question in my mind. And you can do the same thing. Just ask yourself questions when you come to something that you don't know what you want to do. Like, oh, I don't know what color I want my background. So ask yourself, you know, what color should I put my background? And then move on to another part of the painting. But your mind will be working and trying to resolve that question. So I have some red on my paintbrush, so I'm just gonna bring it into the face here, because I know at some point I'm gonna build up the face and I'm gonna, you know, put red lips and cheeks and what have you. So I'm just kind of bringing that red into the face now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to use my burnt sienna and I'm going to fill in the faces. And, you know, depending on what color of a human you're going to be painting, you would, you know, use different colors. Now for me, this really works because I'm drawing brown skin women. So the burnt sienna is just perfect for me. And I can adjust the colors with the paints that I use to mix it with. And I just mix it with the chalk paint, with the cashew chalk paint. So, you know, you would have to find a color that you like. And I don't really know if they have inks in flesh tone colors, but I'm assuming that, you know, they do. And usually flesh tone colors are not just one color anyways. They are like a million different colors. So even though I use the burnt sienna Liquitex transparent ink as a base, I still mix it with a lot of different colors because skins have undertones and they have tones, they have undertones. Different parts of the face and the neck will be different hues. And so it is very complicated. And like what looks like a very simple, say a brown skinned lady or a Caucasian lady or an, you know, a lady from say China, it seems like, oh, you know, that I would just use one color for that. But no, that's not true at all. Skin tones have like 10 million different colors and variations and hues and undertones and all sorts of things. And it's really beautiful though once you kind of, you know, experiment. And also too, if you're going for abstract, then you really can make just, you know, the sky's the limit if you want to draw like a blue face or a red face or whatever. So things are kind of shaping up a little bit, and I'm just kind of bringing that into the neck, into the hair even. So now I'm going to bring in my ultramarine blue, and I'm still thinking about how I'm going to incorporate this. And I think what I'm going to do is bring in my luminous opera. So, okay, so I'm still thinking about adding some of the luminous opera into the body here, while still retaining the stencil part or a lot of the stencil part. But in the meantime, I'm going to bring in my ultramarine blue, and I think I'm going to bring it into the hair right now. And the reason why I bring colors into the hair is just to give the hair some interest. Because just like skin color doesn't have like one color. Hair is the same way. Like there's so many different colors in what we might read it as like brown hair or black hair or whatever, but there's so many different colors that go into making hair. And so when you just add these undertones, you're just creating some interest to, you know, your skin tones, your hair tones, etc. So I'm gonna bring in some of that blue, and I'm also just going to make a line over there. And okay, now I'm gonna leave that alone for now. And I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm just gonna try out this luminous opera here and just bring it in like so. And I don't know if this is going to work. No, that is not going to work, which is a shame, but I'm just gonna leave that alone for now. I have some luminous opera on my brush, so I'm just gonna bring it into the face here and just add some dimension here to the skin color here. And now what I want to do is get out like my Stabilo, a pen probably. Okay, I have my Stabilo right here. And I just want to make some marks on the background. Like I want it to have like a very scratchy, kind of a raw feeling. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just using, this is a Sharpie S Gel pen, and I bought it actually to write with, but I really love the way it makes its marks, so I ended up using it for my art. And so I just want like a very kind of a scratchy feeling. And I'm just gonna kind of bring some lines over here. And I'm gonna use this Stabilo. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my non-dominant hand, and I'm just gonna make some marks. And if I don't like them, I can always cover them up, but let's just see what happens. Another thing you can do is you can use your non-dominant hand, and you can journal. So you can actually write, and you can ask a question with your right hand, and then you can answer it with your left hand. And I learned this technique a long time ago, and I'm not sure if I read it in a book or I don't really know, but you would be surprised at the answers that you get. It's really, really interesting. I have a whole book on using your non-dominant hand, and if anyone is interested in me doing a video about that, then just leave a comment in the section below, and I will make a video about it, because there is some really crazy interesting stuff that can happen when you use your non-dominant hand. I don't know why. It's like, I don't know what the science is behind it, but I have done it myself where I've asked a question. I'm journaling and I ask a question with my right hand, and then I answer it with my left hand, and not only are the answers really accurate, but they are very profound in a way that I honestly could not come up with that with my using my right hand. It's really bizarre. So anyways, I find stuff like that really interesting, and it's just been amazing for me on my healing journey. And you know, journaling, like when I say journaling, I mean writing. So just let me know if you're interested in that, and I will make a video about it. And I try to apply some of those principles when I'm making my art as well, like using my non-dominant hand, because some really cool stuff can happen. So what I'm gonna do now is, I have this cheapy paint, and it's kind of a brown, and it's like a folk art paint, because I do have some very cheap paints because I like the colors. So I'm just going to kind of lay down a foundation for the hair and try to leave some of that blue in there. So I feel like things are kind of coming into focus a little bit, but I still have a few more things I want to do before I finish up this kind of middle layers. I guess this would be a second/third layer. So I'm gonna bring in a little bit more of this blue here. And I think I want to add another coat of the chalk paint in the background, and I also want to add another layer of my burnt sienna, because I want it to be more flat than what it is, because I can see the background showing through, and I don't want that for the face. So I'm just gonna add another layer of this right here. And over here as well. I still haven't figured out what I'm gonna do with this figure over here, because I want some of this stencil to show through. And I think what I'm gonna have to do is, this pink is not working, and I think I have to use a yellow. So I've laid out some yellow on my palette, so I think I'm just gonna use that yellow. But first what I'm gonna do is just add another coat of the chalk paint to the background here. And I'm going to cover up some of these marks, but I'm going to also retain some of these marks that I made with my Stabilo pencil. And so and I'm going to try out the yellow. I think it's going to be a better fit than the pink, but we'll see. Yes, I think it is going to be a better fit, because it's picking up on the yellow that's overlaid on top of the red stencil. Now this is still, some of this is still wet, so I'm probably going to leave it like this. And then when I come back for my, say, last layers, I'm probably going to add another layer of yellow. So I'm not going to use a heating tool to dry this. I'm going to allow it to dry naturally. And as you can see in this layer, I made a lot of changes, and I changed a first layer that I didn't particularly like, maybe half of it. Like half of it I did like, but there was a good portion of it that I just wasn't feeling. But I worked with what I had, and I turned it around. So I guess my one big lesson out of this, when you find that you've made a first layer that you really don't like, try to use your viewfinder and just really look at what you do like. And even if it's only 20% that you like of the page, work around that 20. Because, if you really like something, you can make it work for you. So anyways, this is the end of this video, and thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.